Hi, it's Charlie here. You may think that the fruit and vegetables you eat every day are totally normal and naturally occurring, but you'll be surprised to hear how much humans have messed with foods. Using selective breeding, we've made fruits and vegetables look and taste totally different. This can be for the better, but there have been times when this has gone severely wrong. Cucumbers. If you saw a classic wild cucumber, you would be forgiven for thinking it was a cactus. That's because cucumbers used to look like this. They were more circular and had big spikes on them. But the spikes would be very big, usually around 2 inches in diameter. Some have even been up to 8 inches long. The interior of old cucumbers is even more amazing. Inside, there were 4 large seeds. And if you're thinking this does not look edible, that's because it isn't. These old cucumbers are actually incredibly toxic, and eating one is enough to take out a human being. But they were actually used where they were first grown, in India. People would use these ancient cucumbers for medical purposes. But over time, farmers have bred cucumbers to be made for eating. They're also far bigger and shaped like a cylinder, and the spikes have been removed so you can simply chop them up and eat them. Also, those large seeds which weren't edible are now tiny and edible. Unlike old cucumbers, modern cucumbers are one of the most healthy foods in the world. That is because they're 90% water. Strawberries. This is a case of when humans mess with food and it goes wrong. Strawberries used to be known as Fragaria vesca, and they're actually thought to be much nicer than the modern strawberries we enjoy today. However, they were far smaller than the strawberries we have today. So why did we make this fruit less tasty? Well, it comes down to cold hard cash. Farmers wanted to make larger fruit so they could sell them for more money. They also bred them to have better resistance to diseases, and their appearance also looks slightly nicer. However, all of these breeding factors decreased the taste and flavor of the strawberry. But who was the man who ruined strawberries? Well, it was actually an 18th century French spy named Amédée François Fraiser. He brought the Chilean version of the strawberry over to France, and these were crossed over with old strawberries, making the strawberries we have today. Bananas. Bananas are yet another fruit which have drastically changed. Bananas used to be incredibly hard. That's because their interior was full of tough seeds. You also could not eat them because there was barely any food to eat. All that was inside was seeds. However, 10,000 years ago in Papua New Guinea, where bananas began, some tribes did actually cook these bananas and then eat them. So how did bananas go from this to this? Well, it's because farmers merged 2 varieties. They merged the Musa acuminata and the Musa balbisiana. This led to the fruit having more nutrients and much smaller seeds. It also is far less hard and tastes more sweet. But all of this breeding has caused the fruits to have genetic homogeny. This means they're all very similar, meaning that they could actually go extinct. Just one disease could wipe out bananas for good. Now's a good time to let you know that you can subscribe and press the bell for daily videos. Tomatoes. Tomatoes are said to be the fruit which has been messed with the most by humans. Tomatoes used to be much smaller and had a size similar to berries. They'd also have hairs and come in colors such as purple and white. Eventually, these got slightly larger in size and turned a red color called the cherry tomato. But now, thanks to GMOs, America's most common tomato is the big fruited tomato. This is much larger and makes farmers more money. But there's a problem with these tomatoes. While they were being cultivated, the tomatoes lost many genes. This has led to them being less sugary and flavorful. Also, because they've been bred so much, many say that now tomatoes can't improve. Eggplants. If you saw this growing in the wild, you may assume it's a tomato. But you'd be wrong, this is what eggplants used to look like. They were small, round, and a white, yellow, or red color. That's why they were called eggplants in the first place, because some were white and round. Later on, eggplants were bred to have a blue color. They also had large spines which connected to their flowers. They also used to taste very nasty. They would have a very bitter aftertaste and no one would eat them. But they were still used by the people of countries like India, China, and Thailand. However, only for medical reasons. But thanks to selective breeding, eggplants are now a lot larger. And that old bitter aftertaste is gone and they're now delicious. Carrots. Carrots have been around a long time, ever since the 10th century. They were grown in Persia. They were a similar shape as they are today, only much thinner. And they also came in 2 colors, white or purple. They also had forked roots, which kind of makes it look like you're eating a tree trunk. However, experts say that they used to have a much more strong and powerful flavor. The only problem was, this flavor was quite bitter. When the seeds were transported to Europe, the Europeans were not used to this. So that's why over time they bred them to be much more sweet. But why are carrots orange? Well, that's all to do with the Dutch. The Dutch are famous for loving the colour orange. And this is because of William of Orange. He was the man who led the Netherlands to independence. So that's why Dutch farmers began growing carrots in an orange colour as a celebration of him. It's pretty crazy to think that even carrots were a propaganda tool back in the day. Watermelons. Almost no fruit has changed as much as watermelons have. Watermelons began all the way back in ancient Egypt, 5,000 years ago. They were yellow and had heart shapes inside which contained seeds. They were also absolutely tiny, about the size of an apple. They were not popular foods as well because they were very bitter, not sweet like they are today. As you can see from this ancient painting, eventually watermelons changed colour. They became sweeter and had a green exterior and a red interior. However, they still had these swirly shapes which contained their seeds. Eventually, we got rid of these cumbersome large seeds, and now we have easy seeds we can simply eat. And despite popular myth, eating them does not cause a watermelon to grow inside you. Peaches. Peaches have been bred for thousands of years. It's believed that they were first farmed by the Chinese in 4000 BC. They used to be red and tiny in size, kind of like a cherry. The stone inside was absolutely massive, meaning you couldn't get much fruit. And even the skin was quite waxy and not very tasty. The inside also tasted salty. But thousands of years later, we've grown the perfect peach. It's around 65 times larger than it used to be. It's much more juicy and the stone is much smaller too. That salty taste is also gone and now it's very sweet. This is one example of humans breeding food right. Corn. Everyone knows corn is descended from Mexico, but where does it really come from? Well, corn used to be known as tesenti, which is a grass grown in Mexico. However, it's very small, skinny, and has barely any kernels. These kernels were encased by a shell, meaning that they were very hard to farm. It was so difficult, farmers would use rocks to get this open. It also tasted very bland, like a potato. But over the years, corn farmers selectively bred the best tesenti plants. Over time, these evolved and improved, and now we have modern-day corn. The corn we have today is much larger and has more natural sugars. There's no hard shell, and there are rows and rows of kernels. If you think movie theater popcorn is expensive now, imagine how much more it would cost if every kernel had to be grown like this. Avocados. Avocados are the latest in trendy foods. Many people now like to have it on toast. But millennials could not enjoy this with traditional avocados. They used to be small, kind of like a tiny apple. Also, you couldn't eat most of it, as it was almost all stone inside. But today's avocados have 10 times as much fruit inside. The old avocados used to have very hard shells as well. You would need more than a basic kitchen knife to cut one open. But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which was the most amazing change made to food on this list. If you want some more amazing videos, then check out my second channel. But as always, thank you for watching. There are some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.